Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. I've got some very interesting stories for you today, and the first one even has an update. So if you want to skip to the stories, you can use the timestamps below. And before we get started, I'd like to take a second to thank all of you that support me, either as channel members or as Twitch subscribers. Your support means a lot to me and I really appreciate it. And if this is the first time watching one of my videos and you like it, then consider subscribing to the channel and joining us on Discord. All the relevant links are in the description below. Now let's get started with today's stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's from the user throwaway ace roommate. My ace roommate, 20 non-binary, doesn't like me, 20 female, sexting with my long-distance partner, 21 male. For some background, I have been with my partner for around 3.5 years. About 2 years ago, I started college, moved 2.5 hours away and met my current roommate. My partner accepted that I was moving so far away from home and the two of us visited often last year. But we didn't have that option this year due to COVID restrictions. So naturally, because we're both adults, we started sending each other nudes and sexting every once in a while, among FaceTiming daily and sending each other other gifts in the mail. Well, my roommate is asexual, isn't attracted to people sexually, but still romantically and aesthetically, and is sex repulsed. I'm bi and obviously into sex, hello, but this difference never caused issues between us. I feel like I've done my best to respect their feelings and not make sex jokes, and I've avoided talking about my sex life with them. Well, a few days ago, I went to show my roommate a meme I had saved to my camera roll, and one of my nudes showed up at the bottom of the screen as like a preview of the other pictures in my camera roll. I didn't do this on purpose, I want to make that clear. I normally delete my nudes out of my phone basically as soon as I take them because I'm terrified of anyone accidentally seeing them who isn't supposed to. Turns out that I missed that one. My roommate was pissed. For about a day they were insisting that I had shown them something sexual on purpose, but eventually they accepted that I didn't. Now they've moved on to demanding that I stop sexting my partner and sending nudes to him because it makes them uncomfortable. Since this is a shared space between the two of us, they think it's disrespectful for me to do this because they are sex repulsed. They don't want to think about me taking sexual pictures of myself every time I go to the shower or change my clothes because it's disgusting. They claim it's like if they were to bring peanuts into the dorm and constantly eat peanuts around me because I'm allergic. But I don't think that's a good analogy. I don't feel like I necessarily did anything wrong, even if I do feel bad that they accidentally saw my nude and want to make it up to them somehow. I've been swallowing my anger the last few days because even though I want to make it up to them, I don't like it that they're trying to dictate what happens in my romantic relationship. On top of that, they're sort of a shitty roommate. It never cleans up after themselves, never pays for groceries, never takes out the trash, will say they're doing the dishes but only do half of them, etc. And I was planning on living with my partner next year because of that. Our semester ends in 3 weeks, so should I confront them and tell them no, I'm not going to stop sexting my partner? Or should I just tell them that I'll stop in order to keep the peace? My partner says that my roommate is being ridiculous, but as angry as I am, I feel like I do need to make it up to them somehow because obviously it was upsetting to them. I don't want to stop sexting my partner, but I'm beginning to wonder if I actually have been disrespectful to them this whole year. What should I do? Well, OP, if you ask me, I think your roommate's request is absolutely out of bounds and ridiculous. They're requesting that you stop taking nudes in the privacy of your bathroom, for example, because they don't want to think of you doing those things? I just really don't understand how that would work. You've been nothing but respectful this whole time. You haven't even talked about the subject of sex or anything like that around this person. You accidentally showed them a picture and it wasn't on purpose. You apologized for that and apparently they accepted your apology, but wanted to take it further. And that's where they got ridiculous. You are absolutely right in not allowing them to dictate what happens in your romantic relationship. They are not a part of this relationship. They don't get to have an opinion. If they have an issue with you doing this with your boyfriend, well, it's their issue because you're not rubbing it in their face, you're not doing it in front of them or anything like that. So now I'm gonna ask you guys, do you think the roommate is in the right for asking OP to do this? Does the roommate's reasoning make sense to you? Let me know your thoughts about this whole situation, and in the meantime, let's continue with the community comments and then we move on with the update from OP. iAche says, your roommate is a nut job. Don't let them dictate stuff like that. You apologized for accidentally showing them the photo. That's all you need to do. This is a really bizarre, controlling demand, and I would draw a hard line about how much influence this person gets to have in your life. You are not asexual. They have no right to try and force it on you. Seriously, this is really weird. Kangaroo Sweater says, this is just silly. That picture you showed them was a preview and probably teeny tiny and an accident. They're overreacting. I'm allergic to peanuts too, and that's not the same thing at all. Looking at a preview of a nude is very different from an allergic reaction that could cause anaphylactic shock, one of the most violent and painful deaths you can experience naturally. I wouldn't bring it up again and just wait out the 3 weeks. If they bring it up, tell them to mind their own business and stop thinking about it if it makes them so uncomfortable. I doubt you're posing your pictures in front of them or involving them in any way, so it's really not their concern what you and your significant other do in private. If they can't let it go, they should seriously consider therapy. TFYDB says, if you don't want to think about someone else's sex life, then don't think about it. If it were me, I'd say something vague about maybe working on doing it less and then not stop, just to keep him quiet. Okay, well, the community basically thinks that the roommate's demands are crazy. So now let's move on to the update to see how OP handled it and how the roommate reacted. A few hours after I posted originally, I decided to make dinner in the community dorm kitchen because my roommate was getting off of work and I thought that things might go over better if we both had food. Well, I didn't time it right, so I wasn't done when they got back to the dorm and so they came to find me. Usually I am in the dorm when they get back, and so I had texted them already that I was making dinner in the kitchen in case I wasn't there when they got back. And well, things were only okay for about 5 minutes. As I was beginning to finish up, I casually said something to the effect of, I know you just got off work, so you can have some of this if you want. I don't think I'll eat all of it by myself. To which they replied verbatim, I don't share food with people who disrespect me. I tried my best to take your guys' advice and be calm about this, so I apologized again for the picture and said that it was really embarrassing for me as well, so it would be best if we could just both forget about it. Again, they were insisting that because they are asexual, it's disrespectful for me to have a sex life while living with them essentially. I kept trying to politely ask if they could explain why they were feeling disrespected in more detail because I was struggling to understand how I was disrespecting them. Well, they wouldn't answer that question directly and it escalated. Basically, they kept yelling at me about how I was ace-phobic and how awful I was being. I eventually finished cooking and was trying to get them to just go back to the dorm so we could talk about it in private. They wouldn't let me out of the kitchen and kept yelling. The RA got called on us. So the RA had us both speak to her separately and then came to our dorm to talk to us together. Basically, she just wanted us to find a different solution that was fair to the both of us, and my roommate refused to budge on their demand and kept yelling at me, and at one point stood up and got in my face. I was still sitting. And the RA had to make them leave the room to talk to her privately again. I'm not sure what they spoke about, but my roommate's parents came and picked them up, and then Monday they came back and packed up all their things and moved out while I was in class. We haven't spoken since, but I have texted them saying I hope they're doing okay. But yeah, there's the end of that. Story and friendship. It's not the way I would have preferred things going, but it's for the best. Sorry this was sort of long, but thank you everyone for your advice. It was really appreciated. Well OP, at least this matter is now resolved and you don't have to worry about it. although I do have to say that I think you were too nice during this whole thing. And this is regardless of their sexual orientation. This person was just absolutely rude to you, and I have no patience for that. They started screaming at you, went to find you in the kitchen to tell you that they wouldn't share food with somebody who disrespected them, then wouldn't let you leave the kitchen. That's where the gloves should have come off, OP, and you should have told them to F off. You did nothing wrong and you apologized for your mistake. They didn't control their emotions and had to be removed from your dorm. Ugh, my apologies for the rant. Some people's entitlement really takes me off. So how about we move on to the next post? This one's from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's from user Baja Blast My Brains Out. My girlfriend tests my love and it's unbearable. My girlfriend, 34 female, tests my, 31 female, love constantly and it's toxic. For example, she asked me to make her coffee a few weeks ago, but I was about to be in a Zoom class, grad school, so I said no. She didn't work that day and was capable of doing it herself. She then told me later that she was testing me and I failed. This became a larger fight in which she told me I wasn't putting in enough work into our relationship. Not true in my opinion, and still a very sore subject. Last night, I asked if I could sleep on the outside of the bed next to the humidifier since I've been stuffy. She's been dealing with a pilonidal cyst and said she was more comfortable on the outside. I said that's okay and dropped it because we both don't feel well and it's not a big deal. When I walked into the bedroom again, she said, I was testing you and you passed, and indicated that she would sleep on the inside. I told her I don't appreciate her testing me and it's toxic to the relationship. She said that's my opinion and changed the subject. How do I get her to see that this is unacceptable? There will be times I say no or do things she doesn't like, and if she conflates this with how much I love her, then we will never really be stable. I feel on edge all the time now that I know she's doing this and it's making me sick. Any advice welcomed. Wow, OP, your girlfriend does sound very toxic. She's testing you all the time? Who does she think she is? Does she see herself as some sort of authority that you need to constantly seek approval from? Partners are supposed to be equal, and it seems to me like she's trying to establish a very toxic power dynamic. On top of that, and what makes me think that your relationship is in big trouble, is the fact that she dismisses your opinion. When you tried to talk to her about how her behavior impacts you, she just said it's your opinion and changed the subject. She totally invalidated your feelings. I'm not sure, OP, that you have a good chance at a conversation here. She clearly doesn't want to listen to what you have to say. So what do you guys think? How do you feel about OP's relationship and what do you think she should do? And in the meantime, let's check out those community comments to see what kind of advice they gave OP. MM172 says, quote, she then told me later that she was testing me and I failed, end quote. That would have been an immediate deal breaker for me. I'm not sure why you're not treating it as one, but given that you've already warned her that this is toxic behavior and she's blown you off, the only way you reinforce that it's unacceptable behavior is by refusing to accept it. If it happens again, tell her she's failed your test despite having been giving the notes in advance and walk away. Gone Baby Thoughts says, this is not healthy, normative relationship behavior. You know this, right? She is not going to change. Knowing this, either you have to accept her behavior or escape it. I very much hope you choose the latter. Cat122697 says, this isn't healthy. She doesn't trust you and it's making it clear with her little tests over nothing. She also dismissed your feelings when you try to communicate with her. I'm petty, so I'd just start failing on purpose and refusing to do anything for her. But if you really want to make this relationship last, you need to sit her down and have a conversation, and don't be afraid to leave if she continues to blow your feelings off. Well, the community pretty much agrees that the girlfriend is having some very toxic behavior and that OP should either try to make this go away right now or go away from the relationship. Some are hoping she leaves the relationship. And on that note, let's continue to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's posted by user AITA Cindy. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister and refusing to send her money even though she had good intentions? My wife Belle and I have a beautiful, almost 3-year-old daughter. Though her arrival was unexpected, I'm so thankful for her. My sister Cindy has never been fond of Belle. Her irrational dislike of my wife was only exacerbated when she announced that she was pregnant. Belle was never good enough. Belle was irresponsible and obsessed with herself for working out during her pregnancy. She's a terrible mother for not quitting her job the moment she found out she was pregnant, etc. I've shut all of it down over the years and I've cut contact with her significantly. One thing my wife and I agreed to not do is talk to our daughter with that high-pitched baby voice many people use to talk to children. We talk to her as if she was a normal human being. We don't talk to her with that goo goo gaga voice. We never have and never will. We also let our daughter, to a reasonable extent, pick her own clothes. And since she's at the stage where she wants to be independent, we will try to encourage that as much as possible. My wife is half Korean and half Ethiopian, so often she will mix a few non-English words when she's talking to our daughter. Unfortunately, Cindy can't make rent and has been living with us for the past 2 weeks. Belle's idea. I wouldn't have let her stay in my house because of her continued disrespect of my wife. Cindy was, surprisingly, very kind towards my wife. It was very nice to see Cindy's change of heart, until she wasn't. Cindy started to make a big fuzz about how my wife was talking to our daughter, as if she was an adult, and how Belle was a cruel parent for teaching our daughter how to use chopsticks so young, the Edison chopsticks meant for children. My daughter was helping my wife cook. My wife let her hold the pot while she was draining the rice water, and my sister called my mom. She began to make threats of calling Child Protective Services, as my wife was a horrific child abuser. My mom, who hasn't seen my daughter in a year, got upset. I tried to get my sister to talk, but she was unwilling, so I kicked her out. Now the whole family is mad at us, claiming that Cindy had good intentions and that we should let her back. My wife is feeling very guilty with everything and wants to send my sister some money. My wife feels really guilty. My side of the family is against her, and we did leave Cindy with no options. Well, OP, I'm going to say not the a-hole. You and your wife sound like great parents, and your sister sounds like she was looking for something to get upset about and confront your wife about anything. She was being mean in your house and you removed her. It's as simple as that. You don't need that type of behavior around your wife and daughter. If your sister is going to be upset at anybody for getting kicked out, it should be at herself, because she did this. So what do you guys think? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and in the meantime, let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. The provincial lady says, not the a-hole. Your wife is a wonderful woman with a kind and forgiving heart. But Cindy, despite being given second chances, has flown her true colors without remorse. She's set in her ways and opinions and won't change. Perhaps the whole family can house Cindy rather than you and your family, since they seem so sympathetic to her. You and your wife did your part and made a solid effort to make it work. You don't owe Cindy anything. Cindy should focus her attention on self-sufficiency rather than how you and your wife raise your child. Which, by the way, how awesome your daughter is using chopsticks, learning second languages, and cooking. She's got more life skills at the age of 3 than Cindy from the sounds of things. File Forsaken says, not the a-hole. Your sister needs to learn boundaries. It's none of her business how you guys parent your kid unless there is abuse involved, which there isn't. Your daughter literally held the pot. There is no good intention in making child services threats on a loving mother. Thank you for stepping up for your wife. You'd be surprised of how many people don't stick up for their significant others. Imaginary Cow 5859 says, not the a-hole. Your sister is making a threat that could have your child taken away for a bit and at minimum cause you a lot of hassle. She doesn't respect you. She doesn't need to be there. So as a summary for what the community thinks, OP is not the a-hole and Cindy sucks. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. The links are in the video description below, along with other links like my Twitch, where I also live stream Reddit stories live every Monday through Friday. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.